Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Northwest Title's virtual seminar on remote online notarization. It's something that we call R.O.N here in our industry, remote online notarization. Today, we hope to answer many of your common questions about what this thing is, how the process works, and what your clients can expect when doing signings online. With me today is the person in charge of our digital closing experience here at Northwest Title. It's Matt Tiliak. Matt has been with Northwest Title for almost 2 years now, but he's been in the title business for over 18 years. Quite a lot of experience. He is a licensed R.O.N, remote online notary, and he's one of so far 5 remote online notaries here at Northwest Title that we have at your service for you and your clients to use. Matt, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Scott. My pleasure. I'm excited to talk to everybody about R.O.Ns today and hopefully dispel some myths about what it is or isn't.
Great. Why don't we get started? Why don't you just tell us what is R.O.N?
Sure thing. Remote Online Notarization, also known as R.O.N, went into effect here in Ohio in September 2019. What this does is it allows us to establish a secure two-way audio-visual connection with a signer located remotely elsewhere and a notary located here in Ohio. This allows this notary to witness the signer e-sign the documents, and then in turn, the notary will be able to e-notarize them.
Wow, that sounds great. But this doesn't mean that they can use FaceTime or GoToMeeting or something like that, right?
That's correct. The Ohio Secretary of State has ensured that by law we can only use certain securitized platforms. So, no FaceTime or GoToMeetings here.
Okay. So how does the whole thing work?
Well, first and foremost, the client's going to be given a copy of their documents in advance to review. So from a customer service standpoint, that's actually a pretty great thing.
Well, I'm sitting here thinking about, having somebody sign online. What about identity verification? I mean, how can you be sure the person that's logging into the online notary site is really who they say they are?
That's really the true beauty of the software that we're using. So what's going to happen is the signer's going to take a picture of the front and back of their driver's license. That's going to be uploaded into the R.O.N software, who's then going to ping the Ohio BMV, and it's going to validate the authenticity of the license that's being used in the transaction. At that point in time, the software is going to ask 5 specific knowledge-based identification questions to the signer, known as KBAs. So the questions are going to be multiple choice. The signer has to answer 4 out of 5 of those questions correctly within a span of 2 minutes. If they fail, they only get one more shot before they get locked out.
Well, you started to scare me there when you start talking about multiple choice questions. What kind of questions are they going to be asked? I'm getting nervous already with passing and failing.
Don't worry, no LSAT questions here. So they're going to be asked questions along the lines of, what type of car was registered to you during this year? Or what county did you live in during this specific year? So now, one of the things I want to stress here that's very important is that the signer has to answer those questions correctly. Otherwise, they're going to get locked out of the software for a period of 24 hours. This means we're not recommending the use of this kind of software if it is the last possible day for your signer to sign in a transaction. We don't want somebody to have to scramble at the last minute to find a notary because they got locked out because they failed their KBA questions.
Good point. Okay, so let's say the signer has their license verified and they've answered those questions correctly. What's next?
Well, the R.O.N's then going to compare the picture on the ID to that of the signer on the other end of the two-way audiovisual connection. Therefore, that is the third step in this verification process. We've got the authenticity of the driver's license verified. We have the signer who's been answered their KBA question successfully, and now the R.O.N has approved the driver's license that they're using in this transaction. That right there is a 3-step authentication process that seems way more secure than the traditional method of notary verification.
Definitely. So we've gotten through all that. I mean, it's all about signing documents, right? When do we get to that?
That's right. So what happens then is the Ron is going to simply review the documents with the signer, who is then going to hopefully agree to sign the documents. Now, the signing process electronically is so easy. It is literally the click of a mouse button. That's it. So the signer is going to get their chance to e-sign their documents. It's going to get passed back to the Ron, who's then going to be able to in turn e-sign and e-notarize that document. Once they go through all of them, the notary is going to give their oath of affirmation, and then they'll wish the signer a wonderful day.
Wow, that sounds really easy, Matt. But that sounds almost too good to be true. There's got to be some sort of catch here.
There really isn't any catch. We just ask that our agents make sure you know your clients before you try to hook them up with the R.O.N software. I say that because I think of my parents, my dearly beloved father. I can only imagine him answering these questions about himself and having to take a picture of his driver's license and getting frustrated with that process very, very quickly. So just make sure that you know your audience and know if they're tech savvy enough to be willing to go through this process in the first place. Now, in addition, I want to put out there that a vast majority of lenders will not allow for their documents to be either e-signed or e-notarized. Now, some might allow a portion of the documents to be e-signed, but a vast majority of them will not allow things like notes or mortgages to be e-signed or e-notarized. So for all those folks using financing to purchase their house or for borrowers refinancing, a lot of them are kind of cut out from being able to use the R.O.N platform simply because their lenders are not accepting e-signatures at this time. But in fairness to them, there are a lot of lenders that are starting to come online and allow for a portion of the documents to be either e-signed or e-notarized. That list is growing every day.
That's good to hear. A minute ago, you just mentioned having a webcam. What kind of technology would the signer need to have on their end of this R.O.N?
Yeah, well, first off, the signers, they have to be U.S. citizens and have to have some type of credit history. That's easy enough for most signers, but without any type of history, there's no way to generate those kind of KBA questions in the first place to allow them into the software. Now, the biggest tech requirement, they have to have some type of camera and microphone. So if you have a traditional desktop computer, you would need some type of external camera and microphone for your computer. If you have a laptop that's been purchased and made in the past 5 years, then you're probably good on that end. iPads, they work wonderfully just as well.
What about a phone, an iPhone or an Android phone? Will those work?
We got a lot of questions out there about that. And in this particular case, there's some folks with the law degrees that have some very strong and very distinct opinions on buyers and sellers signing legal documents on their iPhones where the print is super tiny and who knows if they read through the whole thing. Therefore, that's not something that we're offering up to our clients at this time.
Yeah, well, blame the lawyers. Thanks a lot, Matt. Now, what about privacy, though? It sounds like these sessions are recorded, and where do those recordings go?
You are 100% correct. These sessions are recorded, and by law, they have to be submitted over to the Ohio Secretary of State's office. Therefore, if you have a client that's perhaps a privacy hawk, that doesn't want to share their business with the Ohio Secretary of State and has some concerns, this may not be the way to go for them.
Any other cautions out there for people thinking about doing an online signing like this?
Yes, I definitely want to make sure that your signers, they have to have good bandwidth when they sign. The reason is the connection must be secure and straight through the entire process. If it drops out for any reason, we have to scrap the process and start over. The entire R.O.N session has to start over if the connectivity is lost. So make sure you got plenty of bandwidth wherever you're doing your signing from.
Well, those are really important things to consider. I really want to thank you, Matt, for jumping on this call today. And hopefully we can do some more of these so we can make sure that our clients understand exactly the process as we get into these online signings. Well, everyone, I hope you've enjoyed this informative, small little short class. Have a great day out there, and of course, stay safe. And we look forward to seeing you either online or here at Northwest Title for your next real estate transaction.